Hi, my name is Karina and welcome to the Karina Chronicles. If you're, just as me, sometimes in a reading slump, a very bad one, and you want to get out of it, I'm going to give some tips and tricks that help me to get out of it, and hopefully it will help you out as well. So if you don't know, a reading slump means that you want to read, but in some way you don't really get to it. So for example, you read on average 4 or 5 books per month and suddenly you only read one and you weren't really enjoying yourselves, even though it was a book you were supposed to like you felt like it was something for you, but in some way it didn't work. You're hesitant to pick a book up, you're grabbing your phone more often or watching shows, which, by the way, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you don't want to read for a while. But most of us want to get out of it. We know how much we love reading and we want to be able to read. So I have 5 tips and tricks that help me to get out of it. I was in a very bad one in December, beginning of January, and I got out of it. I still need to work on it a little bit. I mean, it can get better. But at least I found out these 5 tips really help me. So maybe they will work for you as well. Let's start with them. So tip number 1 is actually a very controversial one. And that is hate read a book. We're starting with the most controversial one here. But I found out it really works for me. Because this maybe sounds weird to you, but for me it is sometimes very unclear what is a book that I'm going to like and what is not. For example, we have The Invisible Life of Eddie LaRue. It was a 5-star prediction for me and I really adored it and I gave it 5 stars. But I also expected to, for example, really love Ninth House by Lee Bardugo. Really right up my alley, and also an author I know can write very well. But that book I just felt really bored. And if you accidentally grab a book that you're supposed to like, but you don't really like it, it gets you more into the slump because you're like, meh, I'm not really enjoying myself. Hate reading is picking something up that you know you're not going to enjoy. You hate it. You're going to hate every little part of it, and that actually makes for a stronger reaction, and that stronger reaction makes you engaged with the reading again. And for me that really helped to get out of the reading slump, to really engage with your book again. And that doesn't really matter that it is negative then as well. I mean, maybe for some people this works the other way around, so then don't do it. But for me, it really worked to read something and actually feel something about it, even though it wasn't positive. Of course, I rather have a book that I love, but it's just harder to predict. There are some books, I can list them for you. Some books that some people might like them, but if you're like me, you know that book is not going to be for me. And that might help you to get out of the slump. So that is my first tip, a very controversial one. The second tip is actually related to this. Not their hate reading per se, but binge read a book, which sounds also very controversial in some way because, well, how can you binge read if you're not feeling like reading? I understand, but if you're like me, then usually you read whenever you can. So you read when you just have a half an hour before dinner, and you read in the morning, or you read in your lunch break. And if you're not feeling it, then those things are easily replaced with phone time. Because half an hour is nothing when you're on your phone. But binge reading a book means that you get a book and your goal is to finish that book that day. And of course you need to have the time. Not everyone has that. Me personally, I usually also don't have that. But in January there was this one day that I knew there's nothing really that I need to do today. I'm going to binge read this book. And that really, really helped me, because finishing a book is actually the best way to get out of your reading slump, because it gives such an enjoyment, such a happy feeling when you get to finish a book, no matter what you thought of it. It's just, if you finish the book, you're like, well done, I finished this. Now we can go on. So finishing a book in one day just automatically gives you that feeling with only one day of work. So I would really recommend doing that. So what I was extremely excited telling you about tip 345, a bonus tip, an outro, and then of course my memory was full. So I'm going to be as spontaneous as possible for this, but let's try over. Tip 3 is actually also related to tip 1 and 2, but that is, don't choose a book with too many pages. Just choose a small one. A book that you feel like you could finish in like 6 to 8 hours, or maybe even faster. There are a lot of books like that. And the rewarding feeling when you finish a book, you can't compare it to anything else. It's just the best way to get out of this slump. So binge reading works, because then in one day you finish the whole book and you get that reward. But also a small book makes you achieve your goal a little bit faster. And that really, really works, at least for me. I tried to get out of my slump by rereading a favorite, which didn't really work. That is something that a lot of people recommend in these videos, like reread a favorite, but it didn't work for me, because I knew what was going to happen. So I didn't get that excitement and engagement and that part where you can't put the book down anymore, because I already knew what was going to happen, and I still gave it 5 stars and I had a great time, but it didn't get me to pick up the book quicker. Also, it was a book over 1,000 pages, and therefore that reward of finishing a book didn't come. So that is something I would really recommend. Choose a book that is small. Even if you're like, okay, but I would rather read this book, maybe this time just try a small one, a very short one, maybe even short story collections. Just try a short one, because the reward gets there way faster. And the 4th tip, try to share your excitement with other people, because then you're really getting to talk about it and you really get more engaged with the book than when you're just struggling with it alone. So I was very privileged and very lucky to have some friends that were able to listen to me. I've sent voice messages over hours, literally, to just rant about this very bad book that I was reading. And it was great. I had the greatest time. People were just connecting with me. They were just telling me what they thought of my opinions. I also vlogged my experience, which worked, because then I could express my feelings in the way that I'm doing right now, and that also really worked. But if you don't have friends that like books that much, or if you're not comfortable with spamming them all the time, which I can also completely understand, there's also like BookTube. You can leave your whole essays of what you thought of a book under my videos. I really don't mind. I actually really like that. But you can also look up on Instagram people that read similar books and try to talk with them. Or look up Goodreads reviews to be like, yes, this I agree with. This is exactly, this person is just saying what I wanted to say, but I just couldn't get the words out of my head. That is just so much fun. And that is for me like one of the most enjoyable things about reading. And reminding yourself of that again really works for getting out of the slump, for wanting to pick up the book again, because then you can share more of your experiences. And the 5th tip is actually not really related. It is something very different, and that is, don't be too harsh on yourselves. It will be fine in the end. There is no need to read a certain amount of books. And of course, these tips and tricks are there to get you out of this slump, because we want to read more. But it will come eventually. And it doesn't really matter if you're like, yes, I'm going to now watch a movie. Well, good for you. Just do it. don't be harsh on yourself because it doesn't work. You can say to yourself, I'm going to read now, but you won't enjoy it more. And also, I don't know if you have this as well, but I feel like I can't be the only one. I have these little rules in my head according to which I should read certain things at certain times, or I don't know, I just have a lot of rules for myself. For example, I don't really DNF a book which did not finish. So you put it down halfway through and you never pick it up again. I can do that, and I know a lot of people have struggled with doing that. But I loosened up those rules a little bit when I was in the slump. Like, I didn't put them down forever, but I put them down at the moment because I wasn't enjoying myself and I wanted to get out of the slump. So I literally picked up other books first and was like, okay, first reading this. Aha, now I'm back on track again. Now I'm finishing that other book. And it really helped me to not be that harsh on myself. Same with book club books or whatever, just sometimes it doesn't work. Don't pressure yourselves on finishing a certain book because it won't really help you to get out of this slump. And no, just try to enjoy yourselves. Even like if you're thinking of rereading a favorite and you're reading it and you're like, oh, I should really love this because it's my favorite, but I'm not enjoying my time. Quit, stop it. And maybe finish later. I know how hard DNFing is, but just don't pressure yourself on doing something that you're not enjoying, because you're definitely not going to pick that book up when you have the choice between a show you really like and a book that you're not enjoying at the time. It's not going to work. So just be mild on yourself, don't be too harsh, and just have patience. It will come eventually. There is no one telling you to read a certain amount. That is, of course, something I will keep on saying. If you read only one book this year, I hope for you it's a great one, but it's still really nice that you've read something. So those are the 5 tips that really helped me to get out of a reading slump. And then I have a little bonus tip for you, something that really didn't help me, but I know it will help a lot of other people, so I still wanted to mention it. And that is audiobooks. Audiobooks are very nice to get out of your slump because it's a different medium to get into. You can listen to it when you're in your car, for example. You're probably listening to music anyway, so you can also listen to a book and just get into the engagement of the books again and just really feel like, okay, yes, I want more stories. And then eventually you're probably easier picking up physical copies as well, because you're already in the vibe, you're already feeling it, and that is really helping to get you out of the slump. And by the way, audiobooks are also reading, so you're at the moment then already working on it, but it could really help you. For me, it doesn't, because I can focus on audiobooks. I don't know why, I just can't. That medium is not for me. I really don't like them, but I like the concept of them, and I think it will really work for others. So if you feel like you could try those out, really try it, because some people read like 100 books where they usually read like 20, only because audiobooks are their way to go. And how much fun is that? Can you imagine just getting 100 books of your TBR every year? Oh, I wish I could be that person. But well, some people even do like 200, I know, but not me. Not me. I'm very happy when I reach 50, and I know that is much for some people, but also very little for some others. Anyway, people with audiobooks always have like this big list of books that they get through, and I'm jealous, but I really can do it. But I would recommend you to try it at least, because maybe it's something for you and it will get you out of the slump that you're in. So that was actually it. I really hope you're not in a slump right now, but if you are, I hope these tips will get you out. And please let me know if they did and what you think of them. Maybe they're controversial to you, I don't know, but for me they really worked, so that's why I'm sharing them with you. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please leave a like, and if you subscribe to my channel and click the notification bell, you will be notified whenever I post a new video. I hope you'll have a lovely day filled with books, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye! What is your best tip to get out of a reading slump? I would really like to know, because I never want to experience this again. Please no.